If you're struggling with erection quality, today I'm going to give you 5 easy ways to keep yourself hard for longer. They're not what you think, so stick around. Cam here from No Pills, No Surgery, and let's dig into having better erections. So the first thing that you are going to need if you want better erections is to want better erections. It sounds like a really weird thing to say, but a lot of times what happens when we don't have something in our life that we want is that there's a part of us that wants it and there's another part that doesn't want it, and those two fight against each other. A more obvious way that people run into this is they say, okay, well, I really want to be in shape, but then they want to go and eat cake and they don't want to go to the gym. So they have a mental part of themselves that really wants to focus on, getting in shape, but then there's another part of them that doesn't want to do the things that are actually required to get in shape. So the first thing, if you want better erections, is to look at the things in your life that are preventing you from having them and work on those first. So some obvious ones that I talk about in other videos, which I'll link one up here, is porn. I talk about this in my NoFap video. I'm a big fan of NoFap. I think that it does some really good things. But I think one problem that a lot of guys run into is that they run themselves dry on dopamine and sexual energy, and they just end up cutting themselves out of sexual energy. So your sexual energy is a lot like a snowblower. For anyone who's ever used a snowblower, you can there's a maximum amount of snow that can move through a snowblower before it will clog. And as long as it's not past the amount of snow that it can go through, then the snowblower will continue to work perfectly and it'll throw snow out the side. But as soon as you get past the point where you put more snow in than the snowblower can handle, then suddenly the snowblower will clog. And your body is a lot like this with sex. There's an amount of sexual experience that your body can have before it needs to relax and recharge. And one of the things that porn does is it allows you to push past that. But other things that people have to give up is shying away from relationships or like being vulnerable. These are things that allow you to stay stuck and not talking to someone about the fact that you have this problem. Or that your erections aren't getting hard enough. Those types of things, the fears around them in general can tend to make the problems worse. So you can be concerned, oh no, my erection quality isn't as good as it used to be. And then when you're trying to have sex with someone, you think about that, and then it tends to make your erection quality worse, which then makes you worry more. So there's definitely a cycle with that. And so you have to look at mental processes and things like that that are preventing you from having erections. And you have to be really willing to give those things up. And quite honestly, of everything that I'm going to say, this one is probably the hardest to do, but it's also the one that is most important. So the next thing that I'll talk about for better erection quality is Kegel exercises. So most guys are aware of this for women. They also do exist for men. Kegel exercises are basically exercises where you're using muscles that are around the penis and around your perineum, and they allow you to first of all relax, but also learn how to feel and use muscles that your body uses during sex. So these are really important for a couple of reasons. One, if you're struggling with something like premature ejaculation, these are really solid from what I've heard. I've never actually had premature ejaculation, so what I'm going by is mostly from what I've read from a lot of other people. That isn't firsthand knowledge. I can tell you that Kegel exercises will help increase your ability to feel pleasure during sex, because it brings awareness to more awareness to parts of the body that are hard to feel. So they do take some time. It does take some consistency, but it's definitely worth doing. It's one of those things that even if you aren't struggling with erection quality, if you want to make your sex life a little bit better, that's a really good thing to work with. The third one is to learn what actually turns you on. And so that may be a little bit surprising, because especially if you're somebody who watches porn, or you grew up in our society where women are on display pretty much everywhere, or men, or whatever you're into, but sex is a little bit more complicated than that. And I find that a lot of men run into problems with ED and with keeping good erections, partially because they don't acknowledge the other parts of their sexuality. And so there's different layers to sexuality, and the obvious one is the physical one. You can look at somebody and be very physically attracted to them. And everyone here is familiar with that already. But if we look at, like, everyone probably has had the experience of being around somebody who's just like really, really attractive. But then as soon as they start talking, you just don't want to be around them. Like, they're just obnoxious or annoying, or they just don't have any substance to them. And so there's a very obvious mental layer of attraction with someone. Like, you can finding someone you just like talking to, there can be a particular type of attraction there. And typically it is a little bit less, for most people, it's a little bit less strong of an attraction with just talking. But there are people out there who are extremely drawn to this particular type of attraction. One of my really close guy friends, he is much more interested in the conversation with a woman than he is with how attractive she is. And so when we look at it, there's other layers too. Another one is emotional. This is one that I see guys get stuck on a lot. And so especially if you're a guy who is like really drawn to physically attractive women, like you're really like, I want to be with like a woman who's just as attractive as possible, and that's what I go after. But then there's some part of you that feels a little bit intimidated or insecure about yourself when you're trying to have sex with someone like that. So what tends to happen is that you're satisfying the physical attraction part of yourself, but then the emotional attraction part of yourself is actually making you feel afraid. So especially if you're dealing with something like not having erections that are erection quality that's super strong, this can be a really bad spiral for yourself. So one thing that was really hard for me to learn, it took a long time, is realizing that there's just different people that make me feel safer. And part of that feeling safe allows me to have stronger erections just by being around the right person. So choosing the right person is a very important thing. And just making sure that when you're looking at the person that you're with, just noticing, how do you actually feel? Are you afraid? Because that's a really big thing that can kill your boner. And so there's other layers too. Another one that I've noticed, at least in myself, is that there is one that is just strictly and totally sexual, that has nothing to do with physical appearance, doesn't have anything to do with how they make me feel or how they make me, how their mind gets along with my mind. There's something that I can be in a room with somebody and I can just tell by being around them that there's a very strong sexual connection between us. This starts to get into a little bit more esoteric stuff. I'm not going to go too far into it, but it is definitely something that I've noticed exists, and it's been very interesting to me to notice, because the idea of being attracted to someone that I'm not physically attracted to is very strange. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is there's a spiritual connection as well that can be important with people. I'm not going to go too far into that. I think most of the guys that are here are not necessarily dealing with that. So if that is something that's interesting to you, leave some comments down below and I'll be happy to talk about it. If not, that's completely okay. And then another thing that's actually probably worth mentioning here too is that what you're attracted to can also mean what genders you're attracted to. I can tell you that I have a really painful experience throughout my life of being ashamed of the fact that I was a little bit attracted to men. I'm mostly attracted to women, and I saw myself as a very straight male, and it was a really painful experience for me coming to terms with the fact that there are some men that I'm attracted to. So stuff like that can be, it can mess with your head, and just not accepting part of who you are can cause pain that will keep your erection quality much worse than you want it to be. So something to look out for there. The fourth thing that I'm going to go to is starting to deal with your mind. The last two of them are both about dealing with your mind. And the thing that I would recommend for erection quality here is just learning to meditate. Meditation it's a lot of different things. I'm not going to go in depth into what it is, because that's way beyond the scope of what I'm doing here. But our minds are at the center of our sexual experience. And so if you're somebody who especially is having concerns about your erection quality during sex, and you'll notice that what's happening during sex is that you're thinking. So your thoughts are going crazy, and they're saying things to you like, am I going to lose my boner? Is this, it's uncomfortable things that are just perpetuating a cycle that's causing you to lose your erection quality. Whether or not you're completely losing erections or they're just not as full as you'd like them to be, you can pay attention and notice that your mind is contributing to this. And so one of the nice things about meditation is it just teaches you how to quiet your mind down. There's a lot of benefits to it, but the thing that I would recommend most is to focus on your breathing. Your breath itself is it's really important because it's one of the few processes in your body that can cross between your conscious and subconscious mind. You can not pay attention to your breath and it will automatically happen, or you can intentionally decide, I'm gonna, take a deep breath, and you can do that. So it's a very weird barrier, or it's a very weird way to explore the barrier between your mind and a subconscious and conscious way. So that's one of the reasons that the breath has been a huge part of meditation for thousands of years. But as far as what that actually means to you is that when you are dealing with these patterns of thinking about all of these, things that are not helping your erections during sex, what's happening is that you just have a subconscious habit where your mind is just spinning, and if you'll notice, it's often loops. It's like, am I going to lose my boner? Oh no, what do I do? What am I losing it? Is that a sign that I'm losing it? And then, all of a sudden you've lost your erection. So all that is just a loop. It's just a subconscious pattern that your mind has formed because of past experiences. So what meditation allows you to do is it just allows you to quiet your mind down some. And one of those things that if you want it to be effective, you need to do it every day. If you want the honest truth about how long you should meditate for, the truth is literally as long as you can. So at the beginning of it, it might mean sit down for 5 minutes and do that every day. It's better to do 5 minutes every day than it is to do an hour one day and then never do it again. But if you want to start taking control of your mind and start getting it to relax so that you can enjoy sex more, that's a great way to do it. And the last one is also mental, but this is just kind of the attitude that you bring into sex. So when you're struggling with erection quality, one of the things that tends to happen is sex becomes very serious. It becomes this idea that I have to prove myself and I gotta really get myself psyched up to do this. And the truth is that sex is fun. It's amazing. I want you to relax and enjoy it. So the fifth one is to just relax and have fun. If you can focus on trying to make the experience of sex less serious and just more enjoyable, and focus on the pleasure. Focus on the pleasure of your partner. Focus on your own pleasure. Stop worrying about whether you have an orgasm. Stop worrying about whether or not your erection is at 50% or 70%. Just whatever happens, and go with it. The way that you will make your erection quality get faster or get harder faster is if you can just relax. And if you can get to the point where you decide, okay, you know what, for some reason my boners are only getting to 50%. And if you can just be okay with that, it sounds weird, but if you can just be okay, that 50% is good enough for me to enjoy myself and to have my partner enjoy themselves. And if I can't stay hard enough to keep them, to have sex with them, I'm going to give them other forms of pleasure. And I'm just going to make sure that they still enjoy themselves. And if you can get to the place where it doesn't tear you up inside, that you're not getting full erections, magically your erections will get better. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but that is what happens. And it's because you're not worrying. When you worry, that kills your erections, because erections are a relaxation response. So finding ways to make sex fun. Give your partner a massage before you have sex, and then have them give you a massage. Play games, mess with each other. Be playful with each other. Don't take it so fucking seriously. Sex is amazing. And the biggest problem that you're running into when you're letting yourself get into those loops is that you've made sex very, very serious, and it's not. Porn is a terrible representation of sex, because sex isn't this mechanical, perfectly scripted, everyone changes positions in a seamless way and then everyone stays hard the whole time. Sex is fucking crazy. You're going to accidentally kick your partner in the head or something, or there's going to be a noise that one of your bodies is going to make that was unexpected. And it's fun and weird and crazy and interesting, and it's never like you think it's going to be. So just have fun with it. Don't make it so fucking serious. Enjoy yourself and let yourself just relax, and your erection quality will get better. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I have been trying to find more and more ways to connect with people that are watching these videos, and so I did start a subreddit. There's a link to it below. If you have questions, you can ask me there. in a way that's anonymous, so that you can still have you can maintain any level of secrecy that you like. And also, what I'm looking to do is build a community of men who are going through this. And as men go through this and overcome it, I want them to be able to help other men who go through it. So I'm hoping to really build a community. If that's interesting to you, please join up. There's a link down below for the subreddit. And also, I do work with men one-on-one for their coaching. If you want one-on-one help with me, I do charge, but I get fantastic results with people, and we also have a lot of fun. And I really enjoy connecting with the men that I work with. We end up having a really special relationship because of going through this painful problem together. And so part of what I'm hoping to do in the community is bring some of that connection that I get to have with my clients for them to connect with each other, and people who can't afford it, and people who just aren't at the level where they want one-on-one help. So I'm looking for mass ways to help this problem, because I don't want anyone to have to suffer with it longer than they did. I suffered for a really long time, and I don't want to see anyone else go through that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.